Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host here, Dan's Reviews, and today we're back with another ranking video. This one we're going to be ranking the top 10 favorite characters of mine from the Walking Dead brand. So, when I say the Walking Dead brand, I do mean the Walking Dead brand in general. I talk about the TV show, the comic books, the video games, everything related to the title The Walking Dead, or even Fear the Walking Dead, or World Beyond the Walking Dead. Anything that has The Walking Dead in its name will be accounted for here. Top 10 favorite characters they've ever come up with in the brand. So I've never done this before. Obviously, I've done some top 10 videos on the main series, comics, etc. But when you combine them together, you're really going to realize which brand from The Walking Dead has the strongest characters. So let's delve into it with a few honorable mentions to get started with. We're going to get started with Clementine from The Walking Dead video game. Incredible character. An absolutely phenomenal lead of the 4 seasons of the video game. We also have Kenny as well from the Walking Dead Telltale series. I love his character. I love how much progression we have from him from the first season to the second season, and even the third season, despite what they do with him. I like his journey, and I like where it goes, and I like his overall presence in that game. I think he's a really interesting character, and he always adds so much brutality and drama to the series, and I overall really enjoy the connection that he had with Clem, and I enjoyed a lot of what they did. So those two characters for sure from the Telltale series are honorable mentions. Now, we also have Merle from the Walking Dead TV series, of course. Love his character. Michael Rooker is a phenomenal actor. I love what he does with the character of Merle and the bond between him and Daryl and the rough relationship that they have and the one-liners that he has. It's just so incredible. Speaking of one-liners, we also have another honorable mention, and our final honorable mention, Abraham Ford from the Walking Dead television series. I love what they do with Abraham. I love his character, and I think that Michael Rooker does a fantastic job at playing a hilarious, badass, quotable, just incredibly memorable character overall. So now to jump into our top 10, we're going to get started with, at number 10, Michonne from the Walking Dead television series. Now, Denai Guerrero does an absolutely phenomenal job. She's directed some stuff in this franchise as well recently, but her character is so awesome. Her character is so interesting. You cannot deny that is one of the most just absolutely memorable characters of TV, with the sword that she swings around, with the overall just character depth, her relationship with Rick, and her determination to protect her kids at all times, and being what she is now, being a mother, and then seeing how she started as this lone wolf that saved Andrea, that had 2 walkers like as pets. I mean, that's quite a statement for her character. Michonne is one of the most badass Walking Dead characters you'll ever see. She's absolutely fantastic. Now, coming in at number 9 is going to be Daryl Dixon from the Walking Dead television series. Now, the Daryl Dixon fans are probably going to get kind of upset at me with this one. Now, I love Daryl Dixon. I love his character. I just feel like there's 8 more that kind of top him in the overarching brand. But it does not mean that I do not dislike his character at all. He's number 9, still I love him. Daryl Dixon is a phenomenal character. I think his character overall is the strongest when it comes to just leadership lately. I mean, he really is good at that, but I also love that side of him where he just doesn't give a shit, like that early days Daryl, where he just did not care. He had nobody to lose. He had nothing. That was some of my favorite Daryl as well, too. But I love the connections he has with the characters that he overall spends all these years with, and the stuff that he goes through with Rick and Carol and all these characters that really, gave him a massive attachment to the group and really brought him in when he was an outsider the entire time. He's a absolutely fantastic character, and he's still active in the franchise right now. So there's definitely a lot to say about him. Number 8 is then going to be Negan from the Walking Dead comics. Now, the Walking Dead comic book Negan is one of the most vulgar, just absolutely crazy characters I've ever watched, or even read in this case, in anything. I mean, he just says fuck every 2 words. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how in the world the TV show would have adapted that, but he's insane. He's absolutely insane. He's this big, loudmouth son of a bitch that has a conscience somehow, and comes in here and kills one of the best characters of the entire thing, somehow gets a redemption arc. And I love the way they do Negan's character a lot in the comics, because Maggie finally confronts him at the end, and she lets him go. And she decides to pursue her idea of a relationship with Dante. And Negan, continues on. And the last thing that we ever saw with him is Negan Lives, which is still not really fully concluded. I don't know if they're ever going to do anything with that, but, we got to see a really great conclusion, I would say, with Negan's character in the comics. And he's, again, one of the most just insanely written characters I've ever seen. The stuff that he says sometimes doesn't even make sense, but he's great. He's absolutely fantastic, and he's a great villain for the comics. He's, in my opinion, the best villain The Walking Dead has ever come up with, besides another one that we'll get to. But he's fantastic. He is absolutely amazing. Number 7 is going to be Carl from The Walking Dead comics. Now, this is another character that I just cannot emphasize it enough. I mean, he is one of the most badass characters we've ever seen. I mean, he has such an arc. He's a badass from a little boy. He gets half his face blown off, and he's still kicking. And on top of everything else, he turns into, I would say, the group leader by the end of it. You know what I'm saying? And he has such a great arc with Lydia. He has such a great storyline with Sophia as the story kind of continues. He loses his mom figure with Andrea. He loses his dad towards the end, and it just molds him into, the leader that they all needed him to be all these years later, and he's absolutely incredible at that. But he can be brutal at times, too. Like, he can do some questionable things, but I think that's why we all love him, is that he has such a complexity to him, and he's not exactly a full-on good guy. He does shit that you're like, whoa, Carl, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? But he's so good at doing what he does, and it would never be the Walking Dead comics without Carl. I mean, Carl, admittedly, if you ever did, which I would not want them to do this, but if they ever did do a sequel of Comic Carl where he leads his own story all these years later, I would definitely read it right away. He is a phenomenal character, and I would almost guarantee the story would be good. Comic Carl is not like no other. I love the TV show version of Carl, but it's not the comics. Not whatsoever. It's not anything like this. Now, coming in at number 6 is then going to be Father Gabriel from the TV Walking Dead series. Now, this one here, man, I mean, this is a character that I have to say is my favorite evolution of a character I've ever seen in a Walking Dead property overall. It's my favorite character journey, and that's why I put him so high still, because he pisses you off. You want this guy dead when he first is introduced. And by the time it's done, he is one of the biggest gangsters you'll ever see, and he's one of the biggest just badass characters you'll ever see. And I'm a sucker for redemption stories, and I'm a sucker for evolutions, and the way they told his is absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I love what they did with him. The charisma of the actor and the charisma of what he does. I mean, it is just so unmatchable. It's so unmatchable. You cannot tell me that this character isn't absolutely mind-blowing. He's incredible. He's absolutely fantastic. Number 5 is then going to be Shane. Now, Shane from the TV series is one of my all-time favorite characters and my favorite Walking Dead antagonist that we've ever seen. He is so damn good. I mean, he grips you in these 2 seasons. He makes you uneasy. He angers you. And on top of that, there's that connection that he has with Rick, the connection that he has with Carl. He's made all these bonds throughout, and it gets to at some point, and this is why I say that Shane, in my opinion, is the best Walking Dead villain that we've ever had. He genuinely is the one villain, the one antagonist in the franchise that I genuinely can sit there and say, Rick, you got competition, buddy. Not gonna lie to you. Not as in a character, but as in a, okay, this guy makes sense in some of the stuff he does. Like, if you put Shane's mindset in a character nowadays in the modern era Walking Dead, he would blend right in. I'm sorry, like having Randall hostage and Shane saying, nah, he shot at you, let's go in there and kill him. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, that would sound normal, would it not? You know what I'm saying? But back then, he sounded so crazy. Shane was ahead of his time, and that's why he's my favorite antagonist that Rick ever went up against, is because, for one thing, it's his friend, but the complexity of him killing Shane turns Rick into that Rick-tatorship that we all know today. And on top of that, he got to Rick, and his mindset of how to handle things, you may have disagreed with him back then, but a lot of his ideas and a lot of his strategies would make complete sense nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So that's what makes his character so ahead of his time, so incredibly done. And on top of that, Jon Bernthal was so incredible. I just love what they did with his character. And he still is one of my favorites to this day, even though he's only in the first 2 seasons. He just lands like no other. He's incredible. Number 4 is then going to be Negan from the Walking Dead television series. Now, Negan is one of those characters, man, where I gotta tell you, he is just, Jeffrey Dean fucking Morgan. You know, we'll say it for Negan's sake, for comic fans. Jeffrey Dean fucking Morgan. Incredible character, and incredible actor as well, too. You took a character from the comics that I didn't think you were going to be able to make better on the screen, and you actually did it. In my opinion, you actually did it. JDM's Negan is so great. The charisma, the level of charisma on him is just insane. He gets his own spinoff now, for crying out loud. That's how good he is. And you just can't match what they've done with him. The redemption story, the story with him and Maggie. As much as it might annoy some people, I personally love it. I love the journey that they took with him. And I love just what they did. You know, you hate this guy when you first meet him. But the angle with him is so interesting because Rick and them did the initiation. And now Negan lets them off by just killing 2 people, originally intended as 1. And I thought that was such an interesting, level of writing that they did with him. And I just don't think that they've ever created a character like him. Now, I will admit this. Negan is definitely not the best villain of The Walking Dead. I would hand that torch over to Shane, personally. I just love what they do with him a little bit more. But Negan is my favorite character out of the villains. Like, Negan is a better character than Shane. I just think that the complexity with him, the level of just charisma, the way he can just flip that switch on and go back to that Negan, but then also be that caring Negan that we love, and they show it a lot in Dead City as well, too. It's such a mind-boggling character. It really is. He's got these levels of him. He's got these, personalities to him, and it's so incredible to watch. It's so incredible. Number 3 is then going to be Morgan Jones from the Walking Dead television series. Now, you can get out your pitchforks and all that bullshit all you want, but I easily would say that that is one of the greatest characters they've ever come up with. Morgan Jones is why Rick is here today. Morgan Jones is why The Walking Dead exists. And if you don't have Morgan Jones, you don't have Rick. And if you don't have Rick, you don't have The Walking Dead. And Morgan is such an interesting character. The stuff he goes through with his family, the clear mode that he goes through, reverting back to that because of what Eastman does for him, and now having to kill on the occasion, having to do it when he has to do it, and then him just breaking after Henry and going into that clear mindset and then kind of finding himself again and deciding to walk off. You know what I'm saying? It's just such an interesting journey for a character. And when I emphasize Morgan, I emphasize him on the television Walking Dead series. You notice I didn't put Fear the Walking Dead in there because I don't give a shit about that. I'm talking about the main series, the story of Morgan is absolutely incredible. It's so damn good. It's so good. Number 2 is then going to be Andrea from the Walking Dead comic book series. My favorite female character and my favorite Walking Dead comic book series character. You want to talk about a badass beast. You want to talk about an absolute legend of a character. Comic Andrea is it. I mean, seriously. She's a sharpshooter, does not miss. She is a absolute badass that went from a scared girl to a mother, leader, everything else. Her relationship with Rick, her journey throughout, her quotes are so good. Her just capability of everything. I mean, she survives most impossible shit. And this is not a flaw with the character, but damn you, Kirkman, for killing her off in the way that you did. Because it was a butchery of that character. I did not enjoy her death at all. Her character deserves so much better than a zombie bite. I know it's The Walking Dead. I know it's supposed to be realistic, and you could say that realistically that would happen. But I still don't think writing-wise it was a smart idea because her character was an absolute goldmine. Her character was incredible. But my number 1, my favorite character, not only in The Walking Dead, but in television in general. So that's how you know you set the bar pretty high. My favorite character of entertainment is The Walking Dead television series version of Rick Grimes. Unmatched character of anything. Absolutely. Andrew Lincoln is the greatest actor of a leading role in a television show I've ever seen. He grips me right away. He grips you. He is why, if you ask me, The Walking Dead is still around today. his acting, his character, his story, his evolution, everything he goes through. I mean, I could sit here for hours and talk to you about his character, and it wouldn't specify enough why he's my number one. But to cut the matter short, he is absolutely my favorite character that this brand has ever come up with. The Walking Dead television version of Rick Grimes, acted by Andrew Lincoln. When he's not in this franchise, in a moment right like today, you know what I'm saying? You feel his absence. You feel it, and the second that he comes back, you feel the weight of just everything being lifted off of you. You know what I'm saying? When Rick returns, eventually one day, if it ever happens, that is going to be, again, a reignite of the franchise. It is. His character, his charisma, his actor, it's unmatched. And when he's not around, the franchise does not feel the same. I'm talking about right now. So, there you go. Let me know your thoughts down below. What are your favorite characters from the overarching Walking Dead brand? Everything included. Who are your top 10 favorite characters of The Walking Dead? Let me know. If you're new to the channel, guys, and you enjoy videos like this, make sure to click subscribe and tune in to any other videos of The Walking Dead. Make sure to follow me on Dan's Views Official on Instagram, guys. And, of course, I'll see you guys really soon. More videos of The Walking Dead universe. Enjoy the rest of the day, guys, and peace out.
Born in the dark alleys, city of concrete. Dan's reviews blowing up, never taste defeat. Walking Dead dissected every plot twist beat. World gone mad, TV junkies hit a treat. Typing up scripts, marathon through the night. His opinions hit harder than a street fight scene. Every episode, brain sharper than a knife. He's the beacon of critique, shedding TV light.